Tech News Weekly is sponsored by Hover.com. Domain names made simple. Go to gfq.hover.com and get 10% off your entire purchase. And by Stitcher Radio. Listen on the go via the Stitcher mobile app. For more information, go to stitcher.com/GFQ.
Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, everybody, to Tech News Weekly. This is the show where we cover mostly everything that happened in technology for the week. I say mostly because sometimes we just don't get to everything. I'm Zarian. I'm joined by my great panel of tech experts and enthusiasts. I don't know which one is which. Erik, are you a tech expert or enthusiast? What would you consider yourself?
Both. I'm sure. And what I take issue. What do you mean we're not going to cover every tech item of news? We're going to cover every software update for every possible shareware and every possible operating system upgrade. We have 10,000 different things to report as they come in every 5 minutes. So
we're going to stay here until we get to everything.
Well, if you listen to each version of this show that's being broadcast or each parallel dimension and universe, you would eventually have heard all tech news there was to report.
That would be fascinating if there was.
You can tune into the Spanish channel on HD 2.1.
Yeah, HD 2.1 is our Spanish version.
It's actually us, though. It's actually us just redoing the show in Spanish.
You know, that would be really funny if we could get somebody to do it for like April Fools, just have like copies of us and they just do the entire show in Spanish, like word for word, while we're doing this show.
That would be funny.
It'll be like a parallel universe of tech news. We'll
have to get it done in like some alien language. So
yeah. Now you're getting crazy, John. Now you're getting really out there. I got to put an end to this. But this is Tech News Weekly. I'm joined by Erik Lanigan and of course Sunkast.
Yeah, you now finally get to me.
Yeah, now I'm getting to you. Listen, I'm doing a whole intro here. It's a whole thing. We have a lot to get to today because it was a very interesting week for Google. Google I/O was this week. And a lot of announcements, Google Nexus 7, the Google Q, a few other software and stuff. But we're gonna stick to some of the bigger stories here. And that's I'll start off with the Google Nexus 7. The tablet was unveiled, running Jelly Bean, and it's $199. Now this is going to be a serious competitor in this lower priced tablet market. Pretty much the only one that's really doing this is the Kindle Fire.
There's also, I think, the Nook.
The Nook also. Yeah, the Nook also.
Yeah.
I forgot that's Android. But very interesting stuff. 1280 by 800 display. You're going to get a $25 Google Play credit when you get it. There's no SD card, but it has a front-facing camera. The camera is not that great. I believe it's a 1.2 megapixel front-facing camera, but good enough for Google Hangouts. Running a Tegra 3 processor. It's a quad-core processor. And the video card is a 12-core video processor. So very interesting how they're doing this. They're really pushing the graphics on this device. It's going to come in an 8 gig version and a 16 gig version. $199, shipping in 2 weeks. I pre-ordered mine the day of the launch. I want to get your opinions before I get to what Jelly Bean is going to be doing. They've tweaked the operating system, and I think it's going to be a lot better than it was previously. Erik, I know you had the iPad, which you returned. You really weren't that crazy about it. You didn't find it to be as necessary as some people make it out to be. At $199, what do you think of this device, and what do you think of the tablet market when Android is entering, Google's entering in the market with a $199 tablet?
Well, I have a lot to say about this, so feel free to interrupt me at any moment. I'm not a big fan of this announcement. We were expecting so much. We had Apple's announcements, then we had Microsoft's Surface tablet, which I think is actually a more interesting product announcement than this. It's an Asus tablet, kind of a rebranding. I heard that Asus announced a similar product or showed one off at CES earlier in the year, and they kind of, reconfigured it to make it a Google product, but it's still Acer. It's still keeping in the Nexus tradition of having a flagship reference design that others are supposed to copy. It's a media tablet, right? I mean, Microsoft Surface is supposed to be sort of a PC replacement or a laptop replacement. They want business people to have it on their conference table at the meeting, taking notes, doing business in office in their apps. iPad, I would argue, is more of a personal computer and a computer replacement, especially with the 4:3 screen. You know, that actually offers a better aspect ratio for doing a lot of work. This seems to be a media tablet first and foremost, 16:9, which is good for movies, but not a whole lot else. I appreciate that they're going after the game performance heavily, but with the fragmentation of the different hardware and software platforms and the CPUs and the operating system versions and the screen sizes and the resolutions and everything, I think you're still going to get a dollar for dollar better game experience by buying a dedicated game machine or an iPad, because you get, I call it the game console, like the Xbox condition, where if you only have an iPad as the one reference design or as the one product on the market as a console, you'll have every game developer tailoring their game to eke out the best performance on that one platform. And the screen, even for watching movies and things, the iPad screen, you know, it's that 7-inch screen and then some. You can fit that screen on top of that screen. What do you think so far of that?
No,
Have I changed your mind yet?
No. Listen, I'm not buying it because I think it's a great device. I have an iPad, and I really don't think this is competing with the iPad. I want the device because, you know, for $200 I could justify buying it, and I have a Kindle Fire, so I really want to know how it's going to do against the Fire. I
think that's what its main competition is going to be, is the Kindle Fire and the Nook.
Yeah, well, you have a Kindle Fire.
Yeah.
And what do you think of it? I got you the Kindle Fires, but what do you think of the Kindle Fire?
It's all right. I mean, it is what it is. It's a cheap tablet.
Yeah.
It does away with some of the frills. The problem that I have with like the Kindle Fire is the lack of physical buttons on it. Like, there's no physical volume button. I don't like that. There's no microphone. There's no camera. And I think those are important things to have on a tablet, especially of this size.
No, you're absolutely right. But I believe this is going to have physical buttons on it. It's a very interesting...
It's got a camera on it, but this is the thing. The camera, it has a front-facing camera, but it's only a 1.2 megapixel camera.
Yeah, it's also...
Is like,
you also have to remember...
the crappiest camera they could ever put it in there.
Many camera apps
make a difference.
Many camera apps will not work with this device because of the specifications that it needs a rear-facing camera.
Right.
And no 3G or 2G or 4G, no cellular connectivity whatsoever, and they didn't tease it as a future product or anything like that. I think that really reduces the value proposition of an ultra portable tablet. If you consider that this kind of occupies a netherworld between phones, between like the bigger screen Android phones and a larger tablet like an iPad, arguably it's more portable, but what do you do with it? If it's designed to hold less storage, less music and movies, so you have to get more from the cloud. Well, if you can't get to the cloud on the go, you know, that seems to be a bad thing right there. Also, the screen, for watching movies, reading magazines, you know, it's the wrong aspect ratio for reading and doing a lot of web browsing. That 16:9, especially in portrait mode.
Yeah.
They showed reading some magazines, some periodicals that you'd buy, and basically the guy demonstrating it started off like pinching and zooming like crazy to fill in this little sliver to fill with a magazine, and eventually he clicked a button and it basically turned it into Instapaper, where it was like big double-spaced, big text formatted for that screen, which really removed any benefit of buying a magazine. I think the iPad magazine experience, you have the full-color graphics and the interactivity and all the stuff that makes a magazine worth paying $4 for instead of just going to any old website for free.
Well, you also have that stunning display on the iPad that really makes the experience of reading a magazine very much like actually reading a physical magazine.
Yeah, the high DPI, the high dots per inch printed text, you bet. And that goes into the movie watching too, because they want to say, and I've said before that this might be one of Apple's issues here with the iPad being 4:3, is that movies look bad on it. You know, subconsciously they look bad. They're being displayed at 1080p, but you kind of think, oh, I wish it didn't have that letterboxing. I wish I could just blow it up to a bigger screen. So then people see this kind of a tablet and say, ooh, 16:9, that's better for movies. Well, not exactly, because you can put this 7-inch 16:9 screen on top of the iPad's 10.3-inch 4:3 screen with room to spare. The actual physical size that you would see in the real world of the movie on that screen versus the iPad screen is, I believe, very close to identical, except the iPad is showing it to you at 1080p, and because of the Retina display. And this tablet is only going to give you 1280 by 800, so 720p essentially. Also, depending on how the color, the contrast, the viewing angles, it still may turn out that the iPad 3 is the better gaming machine, better movie machine. That could still happen, even though this is being billed as a media tablet.
Well, here's another thing. Sunkast, what is the battery life on your Kindle Fire?
I'm not exactly sure. I know when I read, I think CNET had an article that was comparing the Nook, the iPad, and the possible Kindle Fire 2 and this new Nexus 7. And they were saying that they all pretty much have the same amount of battery life. So I don't think that's something that's really going to make a difference here or there. They all kind of have the same sort of amount of battery life, give or take maybe an hour.
Yeah, they're claiming 8 hours. I don't think you'll hit 8 hours, but that's a claim. That's significant battery life.
By the way, the Google guy demonstrating it said, "Oh, I'm going on a camping trip, so this is gonna be my friend to take camping with me because I can put all my books on it to read books." Yeah. You're gonna go away from electricity. Why don't you take the device that needs recharging every 8 hours to read books on? I don't think so.
That right there shows you the impracticality of these tablets, though, is that they don't do well for areas where you're not going to be around other technology. The bottom line is that this really only competes with the Nook and the Kindle Fire, and soon to be the Kindle Fire 2. Those are the only things that competes with. There's two tablet markets here. There's the iPad and Apple tablet market, and then there's basically everybody else in these sort of cheaper ranges, because nobody can sell a tablet for the price that Apple sells theirs. Nobody wants to buy a 7-inch tablet that's $600.
Well, here's also a big issue. Now, where does this leave Microsoft with the Surface? The Surface was announced 2 weeks ago.
I don't think
last week, actually. We covered it. And the Surface, the pricing on this Surface, the ARM-based Surface, is there was no pricing unveiled, but they're saying it's most probably going to be around $499 or $399 at the lowest.
What you have here are classifications of tablets. The Surface tablets are going to be a little bit higher end. I definitely see the Windows 8 Pro tablet being more competitive in terms of the iPad. I'm not so sure about Windows RT yet, as far as where that's going to shake out, if it's really meant to be classed up there at that price.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be a big problem now that Google's unveiling this device. I think,
but if you want to look at history, look at the Zoom, the Motorola Zoom. I think they priced that out at what, like $399, $499,
$599.
And
the Zoom, I think the Zoom was coming in at like $800, especially if you got like the 3G model early on.
Yeah, it was very expensive.
So if Microsoft prices the Windows RT model somewhere around that lines, I don't think it's going to sell very well. People are not sure about the tablet market yet, so they don't want to necessarily spend that much money. You're looking at the disposable income. What's justifiable? If I like this product, I like it. If I don't like it, I only blew $200.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I want to point out an interesting business aspect here, sort of a changing landscape here, perhaps, with tablets. I wasn't here last week, so I didn't really get to talk about the Surface when that was brand new, but I think that's really cool. It's really interesting, though, because if Microsoft really wants to make their Microsoft Surface tablet a success, they would have to subsidize the price. They'd have to come in either with better manufacturing prowess than every Asian manufacturer and Apple put together, right? Yeah. That's how Apple can compete with the likes of Asus and Lenovo and those guys, because Tim Cook knows manufacturing. He knows the Asian supply chains. He knows how to do that and get it then for a cheap price.
Well, the other thing was, did you read the latest news that Microsoft has pissed off the OEMs, and HP has said they are not going to make an ARM-based tablet.
Wow. I mean, I'm not surprised, because if Microsoft were going to make their own tablet and they wanted to make it a success, they'd have to price it competitively with Apple's, price it competitively with their own OEM customers who would normally be buying from Microsoft a copy of Windows 8 for like, what was it, like $85 or something? Do I have that about right?
I think it's like $75, right, for the ARM-based one? For the Windows RT.
That would really cut into your profit margins. And that would really be something that if Microsoft decided to subsidize that for their own product, I mean, that would destroy the market of third-party tablets. Now, the rumor is Google is selling this Asus tablet that they're rebranding as a Google tablet on their Google Play site for like no profit margin. In fact, they're absorbing the marketing cost, so it's almost selling for below cost or at the cost of components. So again, scary time to be a third-party OEM of manufacturing tablets, whether you're into Microsoft or Android, because now they're both subsidizing their own hardware.
There's two things to look at here, though, because you're talking about the Nexus 7. In terms of that, they're more along the lines of a Kindle Fire, where they want a device where its users can take advantage of the Google Play Store.
Yeah, media
they now
consumption
have
device.
movies and TVs and music on there as well. And then in terms of the Microsoft Surface tablets, it's such a new field for them, is the fact that I don't know how it's going to shake out. And people and businesses in particular don't like unknowns. So when the tablet does come out and when Windows 8 does come out, it's going to be such an unknown thing that I don't think they're going to be willing to bite for probably several months down the road.
Well, I think what they're going to end up having to do.
Businesses are already complaining about regulatory uncertainty. Now it's going to be operating system uncertainty.
Well, here's something that I could see possibly playing out, because these OEMs have to slash the prices to virtually nothing. There's no gain from it. So what are they gaining by putting out this tablet? What they're going to have to do is take a cut from every app or every magazine that is purchased on that device. They get some sort of kickback from Google. That's how they're going to subsidize the pricing for this and justify the fact that they're not really making much off of it.
Yeah, the tablet market in general has kind of turned into, or maybe is slowly morphing and going in that direction of being a subsidized media platform where you don't actually make money off the hardware. You make money off of the so-called content ecosystem. You make money off of the online stores and the commissions that the apps, the movies, the music, the magazines, anything that you buy is subsidized by, whether it's Google, Amazon, Microsoft, the big players in that space. And, it kind of leaves the OEMs, the pure hardware guys, scratching their heads.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting way that this plays out. I was saying a couple weeks ago that I cannot see the OEMs being happy with Microsoft putting out their own Microsoft branded tablet to the market, because it's really going to kill the market. And plus that $75 fee that they're going to have to pay out is going to add an overhead on their devices. So how are they going to justify being competitive in the pricing? The only way they could really do that is if they don't really get into the ARM-based market and they just put out Windows tablets.
That could be. And also you got the issue with Android. I think, didn't Samsung, I think they're the ones, they recently said they're going to move away from Android and they invested hugely in the Linux Foundation. We might yet see the OEMs collaborate to create a whole new operating system that is totally open, Linux-based, more so even than Android.
WebOS.
Maybe.
Open source. I've been saying it for a while, because if you look at it, everybody's picking a side. Microsoft has their device. Google has Motorola.
Actually,
Microsoft
by the
has
time
Nokia.
they get around to doing something like that, it's going to be kind of old.
Well, I don't know. If you look back, BlackBerry was the king of smartphones, and I don't think people would have imagined a collapse like this. Anything could happen. Anybody, Android, if we go in 10 years into the future, who knows how innovative Apple is going to be, and who knows how innovative Google is going to be. A lot could change really quickly, and 10 years is a long time in the tech world. But to kind of move on to more of the Google news, Jelly Bean was announced. Android 4.1 was revealed by Google. It's rolling out mid-July. They said the Galaxy Nexus will be one of the first phones to receive this update over the air mid-July. It's also, I guess, the same timing as the Nexus 7 release. Some of the changes, one of the biggest changes to the way that Android is functioning is Project Butter. So what that does, it improves the performance and response time to be a lot smoother. They were saying how it's going to be buttery smooth to work in to work in the operating system.
I took that almost to be a little bit of a maybe in poor taste reference to Steve Jobs. You remember where that came from? That it scrolls like butter?
No, where did that come from?
That came from a Steve Jobs keynote in the early 2000s, I think. He was on stage and he said, "Forgive me, I'm on cold medicine or something. I'm on antihistamines. I'm not functioning properly today," because he made a number of strange verbal gaffes, one of which was he said he was showing iPhoto how the library scrolls more smoothly than ever in their new iLife. And he said, "Look, it scrolls like butter." And everyone was like, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah, that's interesting. Some of the other changes was that scrolls like butter. That's the name of the show, John. That's the name of the show. Home screen has been tweaked. Dynamic resizing of widgets. So now you could resize it depending on what you have. So it shifts automatically. Offline voice input, kind of competing with Apple here with that. A a lot of interesting features were added. I kind of like the changes that they're doing. The fact that they're constantly revamping over and over again at this accelerated rate is great for the user. But how good will it be? We just don't know yet because none of us have it on hand. The problem with Google is that I always feel that they're in this beta mindset with every consumer product that they release. The fact that Gmail was in beta for so long and they got away with it really has changed the outlook of this company. They've released a lot of these products. Android was beta when they released it. Let's say Google Wave was a beta product. Google Buzz was a beta product. They failed. Google Docs was a beta product. But some of these, if we're going to talk about the failures of Google, I think Android, the fact that they've saturated the market is unbelievable to me because this is not a completed operating system. Android is extremely buggy. It doesn't work the way it's supposed to. And I'm an Android user, and I'm telling you this. It's this beta mindset to it, but they've been able to saturate the market.
But then again, this is very reminiscent to me of a consumer trying to learn Ubuntu or Linux for the first time. It's got that same kind of feeling to it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Ubuntu or Linux is awful or anything, but when you're a consumer and you don't necessarily understand how to set up a operating system to do basic things, that becomes a problem.
Well, you know what my issue is with it? It's not, there's a lot of incomplete areas in Ice Cream Sandwich. And this is, 4 versions in. Apple's operating system, iOS, is a complete operating system from the time that they released it. They've added features, but you never felt that it wasn't complete or it was missing, certain areas.
Right.
Like it wasn't streamlined like, I should say Android isn't streamlined like iOS is.
The other bizarre thing that you get is, you're saying that it's still kind of buggy and stuff, but you have to remember like 80 or 90% of Android customers who make up the bulk of that exploding growth in Android sales, Android user installed base, are running like Android 2.2 or 2.1.
Yeah.
So the really old versions, I mean, not even close to Ice Cream Sandwich, not even Honeycomb, especially not Jelly Bean. So it's kind of weird how in the Android space in the ecosystem, you've got probably 90% of customers barely even aware that they have an Android device, don't even know what it means. It might have a different company's skin on top of it for the UI. And then you've got a small handful of true Android geeks who are running like the latest version, who really amount to like 1% of the market.
Yeah, I mean, Ice Cream Sandwich, which has been out for over a year now, is when did it come out? Yeah, almost a year now.
Really?
It's I would imagine it's like 8 months. 8 months.
It was
9
demoed
months.
this time last year at I/O.
Yeah, it was demoed at the same time. So let's say a year. We've heard about Ice Cream Sandwich. Only a few percentage of people using Android are using Ice Cream Sandwich. It wasn't really incorporated into new phones when Ice Cream Sandwich was released. The Google Nexus was, I think, the first phone that came out with it, and past that, some phones still don't have Ice Cream Sandwich, so it's a big problem. And now they're moving to Jelly Bean. What phones are going to get this, and what percentage of it? How long is it going to take till manufacturers start putting this on their new devices?
It was October of last year.
Okay, so about 8 months.
That it was released.
Yeah, I mean that's a while.
I mean, and I think this is crucial. Like, not just in the success we've already seen, but when people ask me what kind of phone should I get, I always say if you're not a tech savvy person, if you're not a geek and an enthusiast, stick with the iPhone. Because if you got an iPhone that you bought in 2009, you're still getting the latest version of iOS 6 when it comes out this fall. Some features omitted, of course, because of the slower hardware, but you're still getting everyone in the Apple playground is running the same thing. They can help each other. They can say, how does this work? Oh, let me show you. Let's go to the Genius Bar. Let's go to my friend's house. So-and-so in the cubicle down the hall knows how to do this or that. Ask the guy with the Windows Phone. Is like, oh, well, I got the Windows Phone 7, and now I can't upgrade to Windows Phone 8. I got the Android, but it came with 2.2, and that company won't even give me an upgrade to 2.3 until early 2014. So it's like they're in totally different worlds. I mean, fragmentation is bigger than you think when you count the software versions.
Yeah, no, you're right. Jelly Bean will be rolling out Galaxy Nexus, Nexus S, and Zoom devices mid-July, along with the open source SDK. Developers can start playing around with it with the SDK today. The next device that they released, and I'm actually, I don't even know what to say about this because it just shows it's a step backwards in my opinion. The Google Nexus Q, shipping for $299 in mid-July. It's an Apple TV competitor. It's this round little orb device, and it's not running. It's not running the Google TV interface. It's running its own thing. It's an Android device, but it's running its own thing. It's bizarre to me that they would release a media consumption device for your living room and it not be Google TV.
Let me say something real quick. This would have been better if they had integrated that sort of thing into Google TV, but then released the Q as companions
Sure.
to the Google TV that you could set up in other rooms for, $50 to $100 more.
Yeah, so you would add it and link everything together. And I'm blown away by this. I'm blown away. It's actually $399. It'll go on sale. Let's see. MediaStream will go on sale mid-July for $299. As we mentioned, Google will also sell a set for $399. Now,
A set of speakers.
A set of speakers. Okay, that's what it is. I heard them talking about the amp, the 25-watt amp inside of this thing, over and over again. I don't know what to say, and this is such a step backwards.
I don't understand why that's important for it to have an amp, other than just being able to plug in like an iPod or something like that.
You can plug in external speakers into the receiver and power it up. But am I the only one that does not understand why they would release this? This is going to be dead on arrival. Nobody's going to pay $300 for this thing that they don't even know what it does. They didn't do a great explanation of it. They were talking about how, you could be at a party and your friends could take over and they could add stuff to the playlist. I mean, it was nonsense stuff.
It's what they presented it as pretty much a novelty. That's what it comes across as. It's very much a novelty product.
I really hope for Google's sake that this is a beta test, their terminology, for a manufacturing process or a new consumer market or a sales channel or something that is not supposed to be this product as an end goal. I really hope so for their sake, because if this is really their idea of a consumer product, this is retarded. Yeah. This is the stupidest thing they can do. $300 for a product that does a fraction of what a $99 Apple TV does, a fraction of what a Roku box does.
Eric, that's because it's made in the United States, so they have to charge more.
They say that, and I've seen a lot of places report this, and yet I've been reading the reports about why couldn't Apple manufacture more in the U.S., and they really say it's more like a 30% cost difference at the most. And here Google is happy to subsidize their other products.
I mean, you're talking about You're talking about a near 100% price increase on what this device really should be.
Well, I would argue it's even more than that. I would say this thing shouldn't really sell for more than $50, especially if you have an Apple TV or a Roku or a Western Digital media device or any of these things that are just infinitely more compatible with your existing.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Eric. I do see this being a test for Google to see if they can start manufacturing product, because this is a Google device. It's not co-branded. There's no OEM creating. It's their thing.
For the price of one of these Q things, these orbs, you can have 5 Roku HDs or 3 Apple TVs or 2 Western Digital Live TV hubs or an Xbox 360 4GB system plus a 1-year Xbox Gold Family Pack subscription or an entire PlayStation 3.
Not to mention if you add in the bookshelf speakers, which cost more than the little orb itself. Let's take a look at that. So they're saying you're going to buy this thing for $300, this little sphere, like a little magic 8 ball sits on your desk. Into that, you're going to buy $400 speakers that they're going to market and sell from their site that are specially designed for this, with the clean, pure amplifier that's specially designed in order to play MP3 streams. So you're up to $1,000, almost $1,000 bookshelf stereo system that can only play music from Google Play, the MP3s that you uploaded. You can't play a CD. You can't play an iPhone that you dock in. It can't play anything that you've got stored locally. If your friend comes over with their music and say, hey, listen to this on your speakers. Oh, sorry, you've got to upload that to Google Play first and make an account, and then you can share with the playlist.
Eric, I can't wait till someone starts playing their 32, kilobit per second audio file from 15 years ago from Napster.
Exactly.
Let me ask you guys, though, do you think that this is maybe perhaps Google's answers to Beats Audio that we've seen be kind of successful?
Yeah, but you know what? Beats is successful because it's targeting the young kids.
But it's just as expensive, if not more.
I don't know. You know what it is? I think Beats, it's a trend thing. I think it's fashionable. I think the kids like it, and that's the only reason why it's selling. But I cannot see it targeting the same group of people. The issue with this device is that they have something like this, and it's called Google TV, and it's been underdeveloped. They have not really put too much into it. They haven't really updated it much. It's been a failure in many ways, and it shouldn't have been a failure.
About that at Google I/O?
Nothing. And you know what's interesting? Last year, it was said, I forgot which Google rep said it. I can't remember now. But they said almost every TV in the next year is going to have Google TV on it. We're going to dominate the TV market. Do you remember that? And
I don't remember that, but it sounds like something they would have said.
And they did say it. They said, we are going to control the TV market. Every TV is going to have it. And at CES, we saw, Samsung, LG. They said, oh, well, Google TV. I have not seen that picking up any kind of traction. Google TV has been underdeveloped. I have a Google TV, and you know what? I use it. You know why? I use it because it's incorporated with the cable. So you don't have to go to input 1 or input 2, and my wife uses it all the time, and I find that to be very convenient. Do I use it because the UI is great? No. It's absolutely a mess. It's awful, but it does what it does. So I use it.
It also has apps. I'm sure if you wanted to, you could stream from Google Play. So and I'm sure you paid like $299 or less, the same price or less than this Nexus Q, and it does what the Nexus Q does plus so much more.
Yeah, I actually got mine. I for full disclosure, Google sent me one, and they weren't really happy with my review. It makes much more
sense to me if Google had incorporated the Q into Google TV.
Also,
I don't understand why they did it.
They're making such a big deal about this integrated 25 watt super clean amplifier, and then you buy $400 speakers to plug into it. They're making that dedicated. If you think about this, if you plug in, they're saying bypass your stereo receiver and plug the speakers with the banana jacks directly into this orb, thereby dedicating the speakers to nothing but Google Play music.
I don't know. I'm actually surprised at this awful device, and I cannot see them. I cannot see this selling. I really cannot. And the same, look at the Google Glasses project that they announced. $1,500. It's a cool concept, but the idea of what we think this device is, it will not be that device for a good 10 years.
No.
I know they're trying to do this cool device, but it's not going to be this device that we will be using within the next decade. It won't be perfected for the next decade, and I think it's another Google project that they're sending out to the consumers, and the consumer is not going to know what to do with it. It's a perfect example of the Google mentality.
All right, so the guys in the chat room are complaining that we're complaining too much.
We do complain because it's awful.
So let's try and think of something positive to say about Google I/O here.
All right, well,
is there anything?
I don't think that's our job. I think it's our job is to analyze Google relative to the other competitors out there and define their products and give you advice relative to the other products that you could spend your money on. I think that's exactly what we are supposed to do.
Well, you know what it is? Ice cream sandwich was a great step forward, and I think Jelly Bean will be another great step forward. That was really the only positive thing, and I think the tablet is going to be positive. I think that's going to take a big chunk out of it. So I don't think we've been too critical of this Google I/O stuff. I think we said that the Nexus 7 is gonna sell well. Jelly Bean is going to be great, but the way that Google practices their consumer market is reckless. It's extremely reckless because they're not putting out products that are complete. Their mindset is let's saturate the market with as much as we can, so it's a numbers game, and that's why Android has been successful. Android is not successful because it's the best operating system out there. Android is successful because they saturated the market. They got all these deals with the OEMs, and that's what they did. That's
another way to say it is it's successful because it's free.
Yeah, it's successful because it's free.
I personally would not want an Android device right now. There's just so many things, in my opinion, for my needs that it doesn't work for.
An Android device. Well, I think it's going to be, it's fine.
Not even to mention also, the Chromebooks was one of their announcements from day 2, new lines of Chromebooks. I don't think they said prices, but again, I don't see what their market is with that because right now the idea of having buying a laptop that only has a web browser on it and no other operating system for a laptop price, for a full PC price, and then paying through the nose for the bandwidth for the wireless 3G just to make that thing functional, I don't see how that makes sense to a consumer or even a business at all.
No, it doesn't, and that's another Google mentality. That's another Google product that is not really doing anything. I don't know. That's my gripe with Google. Listen, I'm extremely critical of them because I use the product. And I know what it's like. If I didn't use the product, I couldn't be this critical about it. But
hey, they can skydive like nobody's product demo business.
Yeah. And people were praising that. I thought it was a cool demo, but I don't know. I would have rather wanted to see something with Google TV than some guy skydiving.
Yeah, so is Google ever going to do anything new with Google TV now, or is that become something dead like Chromebook?
I think they'll further develop it. I think they'll probably reboot it in a couple months. But it's running Honeycomb, which it was.
I mean, we haven't seen Google do anything with Chrome OS or Chromebook for past year or so.
No, nothing.
And I have to point out, I know you spent too long on Google, but I have to point out their Google Glass initiative, $1,500 for those glasses. They come out in 2013. Sergey Brin said the consumer model is ideally going to come out in 2014. They really downplayed the heads-up display aspect of that, which I think is what most people were excited about for Google Glass. They wanted the internet connectivity. They wanted pop-ups. Right. They wanted augmented reality. Instead, they showed a Wi-Fi only video camera, which is not much of anything.
They produced a skydiving video with them, which I don't think anybody really gave a crap about.
No, I don't think anybody did.
People were impressed by it, but I don't understand why anybody would be impressed by it. Like, so what?
Yeah. Right, it's just a camera. It's like, look, we could mount a camera on the top of anyone's helmet and throw them out of an airplane and look exactly the same.
I mean, are you gonna have a whole bunch of friends that have this device that costs over $1,000 each?
Well, I think that price
of airplanes together.
Go do group activities.
I think that's what we're gonna do. Kindle Fire 2 may be hitting soon. Reports CNET is reporting that possibly in July, the Kindle Fire 2 will be coming out. It's going to be displaying $199. You're going to be getting a camera with it. High resolution 1280 by 800 display. They're saying the beginning of the third quarter, you're going to see that. Digitimes article also cites a source for upstream supply chain, talking about how Amazon would reduce the price of the current Kindle Fire to $149. Listen, I think this device is going to sell because Amazon has their own market. But are we getting, is it way too many tablets at this price range now? I mean, if you had an option to get a Google branded tablet or a Kindle Fire, an Amazon branded tablet, I think most people are going to pick the Google branded tablet. I can't see them jumping ship to another one.
Especially if it's running an outdated version of Android like the current Kindle Fire is.
Yeah. Apple reports planning to do a major overhaul of iTunes with better cloud integration. I was reading about this. Bloomberg is reporting this, that they're going to be doing a major overhaul. Some of the rumors are that they're going to be splitting up podcasting and Google, and I should say iTunes U into their own apps. I cannot see that happening on the desktop. I think it's iTunes does the job. But I believe they do need an overhaul with their UI. So that was another story that came out. But let me ask you this, Eric. Are you a big iTunes user?
Yeah, it's where my music library is.
If that's but that's all you use, right? And you're on a Mac.
Yeah. Well, what do you mean? Like, do I use the store very often, or what other things are you thinking about?
Yeah.
I don't buy much media at all through there. For finding like singles and stuff, certain individual tracks and looking up albums, it's good for that. It's nice and fast. The app discovery is terrible. The search leaves a lot to be desired. I honestly, I can't envision how they're going to change this to be a different style of showing you a playlist, or I don't know what the next version is going to look like.
Yeah.
But this one's been around since 2001, so I guess it's time for a facelift.
Yeah, they're saying that they're going to feature, it's going to have more features like Google Music and Spotify with their streaming service with iCloud, which I think they have to integrate that in the next version. So I thought this was a pretty interesting story that they're getting ready, and we've seen already changes done to iOS 6 with iTunes and the way that they're handling it. So that's going to be an interesting development in the next version. I think the cloud integration, I think Google's been doing a decent job with that, and iTunes, I'm not that crazy about iCloud. I haven't really caught on to it. I don't know. It's just not something that works with me. Now, Sunkast, I do want to go to you for this. BlackBerry 10 devices expected to launch first quarter 2013. Yeah. Another delay. They're reporting, BlackBerry's reporting a $518...
This was not a good thing.
No. BlackBerry's reporting a $518 million loss, or 99 cents a share, almost $1 a share, on revenue of $2.8 billion, down 33% from $4.2 billion. This also coincides, BlackBerry is announcing that They were supposed to come out with the second half of 2012 with the BlackBerry 10 device. Now, it's first quarter 2013. This is not a good thing for BlackBerry. It's not good at all. Why do you think that the delays? Why do you think that, are they having a problem with the development of the product, or is it the software itself?
I have no freaking clue. Thorsten Heinz did a fiscal report. I believe it was yesterday, and this is where all that news is coming out. They were saying, "Oh yeah, this is going to be a bad quarter for us. We know until BlackBerry 10 is released that everything's going to be pretty bleak." But on top of that bad news, they're saying now that their self-imposed deadline is being pushed back for probably the third or fourth time now, I think it is, into next year, which I think is going to be another 6 to 9 months down the road, which is ridiculous at this point. It's like these people have been waiting for BlackBerry 10 forever now. Yeah, they only debuted it last May, but the fact that we've been waiting for something new from RIM for probably the past year and a half, and now we're going to have to wait another 9 months or so until we actually get BlackBerry 10.
This is slowly becoming the nail in the coffin.
How long
for
can you
them.
make people wait? And this is something that they've tried to say. Like, I know you guys are just going to have to be patient. We want to make sure we get this right. Google has some pretty interesting comments and suggestions for RIM. Let me get the quote here and read it real quick.
They want to make sure they get it right, like in 2014.
Yeah.
Finally announcing the new operating system of 2010.
Somebody from Google told RIM, "This industry moves fast, so we have to move fast too. We can't spend a year developing hardware because when it's done, it has year-old hardware. So we can't really afford to do that," which is what exactly RIM is doing. They're taking the opposite approach of Google, where they send something out every 6 months, something new every 6 months is going to come out. Where RIM, we're going to take our time until it's good and ready.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the display.
I understand that. I understand that you're waiting to make sure everything is perfect, but I'm afraid by the time you perfect it, everything's going to be so old.
Well, here's the issue with this. But here's the issue with this. This device should have been out a year ago.
Yeah, it should have been.
And that's the problem here.
This is the way RIM works, because they work hand in hand with enterprise. Enterprise, as we know, is always lagging behind bleeding edge technology and the consumer market. So in RIM's case, what we perceive to be as really bad, really late, and going to be so outdated by the time it's released in terms of the enterprise world isn't going to be all that bad and all that late. It's going to be a little bit late, but it's not going to be bad because it'll be just right for the enterprise business.
But see, here's the thing. I think that line between enterprise and consumer is blurred at this point. We don't have that distinction that we used to have with enterprise and consumer. I think it's one device now at this point. If it works, I mean, you're seeing major corporations incorporating Android in their product, in their line. They're incorporating the iPhone, even Windows Phone. So I think that line between, this is an enterprise device, this is a consumer device, is no longer there. But I do want to say, I don't think that this device is going to be outdated when it comes out. It has a stunning display, 330 pixels per square inch.
That's going to be for the QWERTY.
Yeah, the PPI, and I think it's 356 pixels every inch for the other device that they're putting out. So I think it's going to be a really high
L
res.
series, which is going to be all touchscreen, and the N series, which is going to be all QWERTY devices.
Yeah, so listen, I don't necessarily think that this device is going to be a flop. I think there's going to be some interest there. It's going to all depend on is it fast enough? Is the OS developed more enough? Is there an app store? How developed is the app store? And of course, how they market it.
But at
we
the
saw
same
what
time,
happened to
you
Palm.
do have RIM's board saying, "All right, come on, let's do something here. Let's get with the program. We're kind of tired of waiting. We changed stuff over. We want to see some stuff heading out the door. We don't necessarily want to sit here on our hands and waiting to see everything perfected."
So, Eric, let me ask you, what happens if this flops? What happens?
I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually never even see this phone. I mean, I don't know. They could have the best hardware in the world, but think what they're up against. They're up against the best manufacturers, whether it's Apple or the other Asian manufacturers on the planet who know how to do that for razor-thin profit margins. They're up against the profit streams that come in from the content commissions like that Apple makes from the App Store and from the iTunes Store, that Google makes through Google Play, that Microsoft wants to do with their new App Store. I mean, you've got these they're going to come into an ecosystem that is entirely different than when they last had the dominant products.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm very I'm concerned with the way that they're handling this, and this is this is Palm all over again. Everything about
really
this is like Palm. Everything about this. So
it does have that Palm feeling to it, where even if what you do release finally is good and nice, it might be too late for anybody to give a crap.
Yeah, because Palm was hemorrhaging money for a long, long time.
But then again, I mean, look, I think CNET said that RIM has about $2 billion in assets right now. So it's not like they're exactly short of money, but the longer they wait, the more of a hit they're going to take. And they might end up waiting so long to get this product out the door that they don't have enough money to even get it out the door.
Yeah. I want to do one more story and then we'll go into our picks. I found this interesting that some sites are charging Apple users more than other non-Apple non-Apple users. Orbitz has spilled the beans, and they're saying the site told the Wall Street Journal that it discovered that Mac users tend to pay 30% more for hotels. So that they're charging you a premium. Now, it's not that they're charging you more. What they're doing is that when they put that list of, I guess, places for you to stay, the higher price ones are up top rather than having whatever you were, if you were on a Mac, on a Windows machine, what you would see. So you see different hotels and it's displayed differently. I found this to be a very interesting thing. Now, it's not that Mac users are spending more. I think they're just looking at the first thing that they see and they're buying it. I think the same would be for a Windows user. The way that they're handling the list more than anything else.
So what you're saying is that their experiment isn't necessarily valid because they didn't test this with any Windows users.
Well, they're saying, let me see here. I read the story before, and they're saying Orbitz decided to experiment with displaying pricier hotels in the search results to Mac users than to Windows users. But of course, it's going to be skewed. It's not a fair comparison.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
I found this to be a silly story. Most people are not savvy shoppers. Most people are not going to go down and say, "Well, this is great. This is great. Let me weigh this out for a week and then decide." A lot of people are impulse buyers, so they're going to see the first couple, I guess, hotels, and they're going to say, "Okay, this is not bad. $20, $30 difference. Who cares? I like this hotel, and I'm going to buy it."
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time I've ever seen your demographics and your buying habits decided by what operating system you use, and I'm surprised they would go after Macs more than they'd go after iOS users, because we know that they buy the most of any mobile OS user, make the most online purchases. I think a lot of people got upset because at first they thought, because the way this was reported was that they were charging more for the same product, for the same hotel room, or and it turns out, I think what they're doing is they're just showing you more luxurious hotels, which they think Mac users will be more likely to buy anyway, and they're just showing them on the first page rather than on page 2 or 3.
I mean, but that kind of makes sense, right?
I think it does, yeah. If that's actual demographics that they can stand behind, any or as well as Amazon can stand behind their demographics or anything for like targeted marketing, then that seems totally fine.
But I think this is a good experiment that they're doing, and I think what this is going to evolve into doing geolocational changes. So if you live in a zip code that has, your income is a lot higher than let's say another zip code, you're going to get the higher price hotels first.
Yep.
And I don't find that to be wrong. If that's what they're deciding to do, that's what they're deciding to do. It's your job as a consumer to kind of do price comparison.
That's what the way this sounded like at first, until you actually read about what it is that they did. That's when you find out that they really didn't charge anybody more. They just changed the way they displayed results so that the higher costing hotels were displayed ahead of the lower cost hotels.
Yeah. So, interesting story. But it is time to move on to our picks of the week. Each week, Eric, myself, and Sunkast pick a product, an app, a website that we liked for the week, and we present it to you guys. So, who's going to go first this week?
I can go first if you want.
Okay, you go first.
I'm going to wait for the lower third.
There we go. All right, go ahead.
You got the lower third?
Yes, I do.
All right, so last week I talked about the new graphics card that I bought for my HTPC. This week I want to tell you about the keyboard that I bought specifically for my HTPC. It is the Logitech K400, and as you can see, it's an all-in-one device. It has the keyboard with it plus a touchpad, which is really, really, really cool. Let me hold it up a little bit closer for you. You can actually see the touchpad and some of the keys on it. It's a really nice keyboard with the integrated touchpad. I like that because I don't want to necessarily pick up a mouse or a separate touchpad or something separate from the keyboard. I want it in all one device so that I can do whatever it is that I want. The other great thing about this is that it has an on-off button on it right here. So you can turn this on and off. It's Bluetooth. It has a little small Bluetooth thing right here that you just plug into your computer. It's really easy to use. So you can turn it on and off to save on battery. It takes 2 AA batteries in it. And it also has media keys here, which are really nice. So if you do a lot of movies and stuff, you can do play, pause, change the volume and everything right from the keyboard itself. So you don't have to necessarily, figure out how to move around on the screen, figure out where that button is, hold down the key, do all that stuff. You can do it right from the key itself that it has here at the top. It's a pretty cool keyboard. You can get it on Amazon and Newegg. It's about $37. It's a great buy if you have an HTPC because it has both the keyboard and a touchpad integrated into one device.
Very cool. Because I know a lot of people that buy those keyboards. I forgot which one it was. It was like $100, the little one Logitech makes.
Yeah, I think it's called the Harmony.
No, it wasn't a Harmony. It was something else. I forgot what it was, but it was like $100.
Or the Denuvo.
The Denuvo.
That's
it. Yeah, that's the one. And it's very expensive compared to that.
Yeah.
So that's a good find.
Yeah,
Eric,
the only complaint that I would have about this is that the keys aren't lighted. So if you are using it in a dark environment, it's going to be a little bit hard to see.
Yeah, very cool. Eric, you're up.
All right. Well, my pick of the week is Levelator. You can find it at conversationsnetwork.org/Levelator or Google Levelator. It is for volume levels in your audio podcast. If you're a content producer, you make audio and video, especially talk shows with voice like this, especially with multiple microphones, each with a different volume level. This may be your secret weapon in getting broadcast quality sound levels and sound loudness consistency across your podcasts and internet videos. It couldn't be simpler to use. You literally just drag and drop your uncompressed audio file onto there, and within a few minutes, it processes it with full look ahead. It actually does multiple passes through your audio file, analyzing it for differences in loudness over time, and then it will go back and intelligently boost the ones just to make it nice and consistent. It basically does the same job as like a $9,000 radio processing equipment does in real time, but it does it in post. You can find this might, some people think this is better than anything that you can buy for the computer. And that might be true. You might find this works better for you than one of those literally like $10,000 Dynamics processors or plugins to like Logic or Pro Tools or something. But it is drag and drop simple, so anyone can use it, especially if you have no idea how to work with volume levels and you don't know why your podcast sounds bad or you don't know what's going on. Drop your file into here. It might be a miracle worker. It might make everything better for you. I've tried it with video. That's like just like documentary style, just going through multiple areas. I've tried running that through this. That did not work as well because it actually pumps up a lot of noise. So it does work ideally. It is designed for podcasting, and they spell that out pretty clearly. It's designed for, where everyone has a controlled environment like a microphone like this, but then their individual levels may change relative to each speaker or over time or, clipping here and there or very low volume. So Levelator, conversationsnetwork.org, totally free. Drag and drop your audio. It will just level it out like a broadcast processor. Give it a try.
Oh, that's really cool. Sunkast, you should try this out. Have you ever used it?
I have.
How do you like it?
Didn't like it.
Really?
Nope. I did not like it at all.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think it's great for circumstances, and I think it's great for podcasting, but for my needs and what I do, I really didn't find it all that great.
Yeah, I think this is actually very interesting that you could level out everything there.
Now, what didn't you like about it? Was it the noise floor? Because it does kind of pump up the noise, whereas like the really expensive broadcast processors, they know how to clamp down the noise and they don't bring it up after a certain point. This keeps going up.
Honestly, I didn't find that it did a good job at all, in my opinion.
What did you try to pump up?
I tried to make everything all nice and smooth, pump up the audio a little bit louder, and it just really didn't work all that well for me.
That's interesting. I would like to know other people that use this, how it would work for them. Conversationsnetwork.org is a site. My pick this week is, I think a lot of people were on the Google bandwagon this week, right? A lot of people talking about Google. A lot of people are excited about the products. One of the announcements they made was Google Chrome for Android is out of beta. Also, they released it on iOS devices. I am not too crazy about the iOS devices. I found it to be a little sluggish, but Google Chrome for Android is really, really good. This is definitely going to take the place of their current default web browser. It's much faster than anything else that I've used. I know there's a lot of other browsers. I think Dolphin browser is another one on Android. It's free. You could just put in, Google Chrome. It'll come up. And in my opinion, probably the best browser on Android. I don't know if anybody else has used it. Well, you wouldn't because none of you use Android. But very good application, free in the App Store, Google Chrome, and that's my pick. Nice and easy pick there. I want to use Levelator now. I'm really curious about it. I'm really curious.
It does work better when you have pretty much high levels to begin with. If you have some that are really low or already really low to the noise floor, that might be a problem. MC Phillips in the chat room is saying any compressor is going to bring up the noise. Not the $10,000 ones, though. They know how to freeze, like in radio. They freeze when they hit the noise floor when people stop talking. This just keeps going up until it waits for someone to talk again, and then it goes down. And it does look ahead, but depending on the content, it may be your best friend or it may introduce noise. You just have to try it and see. It's free, so you can do that.
Yeah. Well, I'll put it through this week. I want to see how it works, but interesting stuff. Go to our website, gfqnetwork.com. If you miss any portion of the show, you can subscribe to us. We're on iTunes. We're on Zune. We're pretty much everywhere you can imagine. Stitcher Radio. Also, we broadcast live, so you can check it out live at gfqlive.tv. For all things Erik Lanigan, go to eriklanigan.com. Also follow him on Twitter, Erik Lanigan on Twitter. Sunkast on Twitter as well. Also, Sunkast has a great site called Amadeus. You want to tell everybody a little bit about Amadeus?
Yeah, it's spelled AMADAIS.com, and it's my website where I post lots of different artists on YouTube that aren't, professional. They're not signed to any major label. They just like to create cover songs for the fun of it. I got 10 covers up there for Katy Perry's new song, Wide Awake. 10 great covers. If you want to go check them out, just go to AMADAIS.com. That's Amadeus.
Very, very cool. And we'll see you all next week, guys. Have a good night.